Hi everyone, welcome to the Raven Wolf channel. This is Anna, and guess what? By popular demand, I am gonna read the rest of the Mayan factor. So we're gonna start today with chapter 6. It's called The End of the Cycle, Synchronization with the Beyond. Ooh. So here, I'll show you that. Alright, and again, I have my doggies, so if you guys hear noises, I apologize. Alright, so let's begin. At the moment of this writing, it is not yet dawn. On the current calendar, reckoning by the birth of the particular individual, Jesus Christ, it is June 20th, AD 1986. On the Mayan calendar reckoned from August 13, 3113 BC, it is 10 Ben, 9 Kayev, 12:18.14.18.9, meaning that we are in the Baktun 12, Katun 18, year 14, Binal 18, day 9. Or we could say it is Kin 1862599, which is the number of days elapsed from the initiation point of the Great Cycle, or less than 10,000 kin from the conclusion of the Great Cycle. Anyway it slides, the Great Cycle, or the 52,000-ton 13 Baktun diameter synchronization beam through which our planet is passing, is about to draw to an end. As we indicated in the previous chapter, during the passage through this beam, the advanced DNA life forms on this planet undergo an acceleration, strangely mimicking by the acceleration to which we subject atomic particles in our Large Atom Smasher. It is this process of acceleration, and ultimately of synchronization, that we refer to as the wave of harmonic of history. This wave harmonic is a minute but exquisitely proportional fractal of the galactic evolutionary process. Therefore, the conclusion of the cycle in AD 2012, Ken 1872000, and 13.0.0.0.0.00 bodes nothing less than a major evolutionary upgrading of the life radiogenetic process in which our planet represents. However, to speak of the end of the cycle in the morphogenic field, whose calendar is dominated consciously or unconsciously by the presence of the vision of the historic figure called Christ, it is raised the spectrum of Armageddon, a second coming, preceded by an awesome final conflagration that bodes extinction. And indeed, this is precisely the scenario that seems to be working itself out through the Christ-based time frame that now dominates the world. Armed caps with inconceivable world-destroying firepower unleashed through the probing of the atom, initiated and original supported by the most brilliant scientists of the 20th century. This is the climatic Armageddon, like moment at which humankind in our planet has arrived. So trapped and immersed are we in the script that there are little in the public imagination that escapes it. Popular cinema and video future visions portray either a post-nuclear war, barbarism, or a technological society or regiment as to be a living nightmare. Even movies about the future or space travel are ripped with colossal galactic war visions. Star Wars. No genuine alternative to the terror of living in the armed global nuclear plant has yet inspired the popular imagination of the world's leaders. Armageddon, it seems, shall prevail. When we look at the source of the Armageddon script of the book of the Revelations, we find that it's both unrelentingly righteous, making black and white distinctions between the saved and the damned, and the same time as visionary as the text can be conceived. Most curiously, however, the number of symbolism of the books of Revelation possess a profoundly Mayan overtone. The fact that Christ is the 13th in a group of numbering 12 disciples is paramount. There is incessant emphasis on the number 7 repeatedly in any number of ways as the mystical underpinning of the entire revelation. And finally, there were the 144,000 elect, the same number as there are days or kins in the Baktun. Remembering that the Baktun is a multidimensional harmonic term, that we are currently in the 13th cycle Baktun 12, we may begin to wonder if there is not some deep bond between the Christian revelation and the Mayan factor that has been ignored or avoided in the Orthodox ruling circles of the Neo-Christian West. Could the New Jerusalem, New Heaven, New Earth be the same as the entry into unimaginable realms of the new cycle? The post-galactic synchronization following AD 2012 Mayan calendar dated 13.0.0.0.0. Is there any single marked contrast between the Orthodox Christian and the Neo-Christian examples scientists' viewpoint and that of the Mayan factor? It is that the matter of beginnings and endings. The current mental frame or paradigm is so saturated in a Big Bang beginning and equality Big Bang ending that the notion of the cyclical nature of things is most difficult to grasp. While many, is not all, non-Western perspectives emphasize a cyclical interpretation of things, hence avoiding any ultimate damnation. The Mayan factor becomes, because it's most precisely attuned to the present moment, to the harmonic reckoning of the larger, history-encompassing cycle about to end. And yet, this ending is most clearly not ending, but an invitation to ascend to an even more vast scale of operation. So yeah, he's talking here all about when, because this book was written in 1987. So he's talking about the end of the cycle of 2012. Let us seize the opportunity precise by the decreasing of the Armageddon myth to insert the evaluation presented by the Great Cycle. From the perspective of the Mayan factor, the peaking of Armageddon myth coincides with the decreasing wave not only from the 13th cycle Baktun 12, but the entire wave harmonic of history itself. No wonder the times are so momentous. If the purpose of the passage to the galactic synchronization beam has to accelerate and intensify the development of life and consciousness on this planet as focused through the human species, then nothing typifies this process so well as Baktun 12. Let us take a closer look then and see what we may yet learn. Called the Baktuns of the transformation of matter, Cycle 13, Baktun 12, represents both creation of structure of incredible complexity, global industrial civilization, and at the same time, an imminent movement of such synchronization transcendence as to be almost inconceivable. When we look at the whole harmonic module of 13 Baktuns of 260 Katuns, and see that we are already approaching to the end of the 259, it seems almost impossible to imagine that in some 25 years the world could be ready for another life and civilization altogether from what now exists. And yet, if we contemplate the step-by-step process of change which has characterized Baktun 12 thus far, we shall see that the very next step, the step of transformation itself, is precisely what shall induce the disposition of the galactic synchronization. Let us first set up the frame of Baktun 12, a morphogenic field of chaotic richness. Spanning the years AD 1618 to 2012, Backtune 12 is not only possess its own discrete wave cycle, but at the same time embodies the culmination of the wave motion of the whole of the 13 Backtune cycle, the Great Cycle itself. Since the critical crest of the wave motion occurs towards the conclusion of its total cycle as the culmination subcycle, Backtune 12 is peculiarly charged with an acceleration of exponential potency. This is why it is referred to as the Backtune of transformation of matter. Everything from the initiation point 3113 BC is a build-up to this climatic cycle of transformation and ultimately of synchronization. It is in this readout of Backtune 12, cartoon by cartoon, the interconnected development of the scientific materialism, the industrial revolution, and the global expansion of materialistic acquisitive ways of life leading to the critical present moment should be obvious. Equally obvious should be the extent which an irreversible transformation has already occurred. Everything in the transformation is complete except the final steps. Synchronization of the entire field of global resonance. It is towards the occurrence of this synchronization that this abacus of history is put forth. First, we shall present to read out the Backtune cycles of Backtune 12, showing the overlay of the 13 cartoons Ahau cycles. Like the first Backtune cycle, which it mirrors the last cycle of characterized by an overlay of 7 cartoons of one Ahau cycle and the full 13 cartoons of the final Ahau cycle. The 19 Ahau cycle, 1499 to 1756, which Backtune 12 completes of one man, the gather whole the mind of earth, while Ahau cycle 20 is one Lamat, 1756 to 2012, and seal it with the star seed harmony. These poetic words are clues to the actual process occurring in the fitful cauldron of material exploration in which 12 Backtunes represent. Here is the schematic of the 12 Backtunes which Anahu cycle corresponds the 13 numbers and the 20 signs. Correspondences described in chapter 4. The harmonic number indicates and the formogenic pattern qualities. So I'm not gonna read those because it's like a graph. And then it's been 12 minutes. Okay. Looking at the entire Backtune as a creative intensification of a particular morphogenic field, as well as the climax of the total wave harmonic commonly known as history, the dialectical action of the quality colors of the whole process. The first is the alchemical impetus to transform matter through the interconnected stages, inclusive of science, revolution, industrial revolution, democratic social revolutions, culminating finally in nuclear actions. This is what characterizes the overall movement of the 20 cartoons constituting the transformation of matter. Dialectically counterpointing this overt transformation of the material plane is the overlay of the unified planetary intentions, the creation of a coherent terrestrial field of consciousness. This second process is the function mirror in the Ahau cycle, Men and Lamat. It accounts for the tendency towards global expansion and communication, romanticism, space exploration, and the urge towards an unified global consciousness brought about through a critical inspired necessity for synchronization. The tension between the qualities, the one of material transformation, the other of the planetary consciousness harmonically attuned, actually represents of the entire 5,125 years historical process, while the tendency towards material transformation functions as the outer morphogenic sheath, producing the current dominant paradigm of scientific materialism. The counterpoint tendencies account for the actual paradigm which emerges through the tension, the paradigm of a resonant unified field of a planetary conscious. This new and culminating planet paradigm will be apparent by AD 1992. Indeed, in reviewing the entire Bactun, it should be kept in mind that this Bactun is a perfect mirror of the first Bactuns, that is the first and the last cycle. Buddy, go get in your house. Go get in your house. Go, buddy. Forgot where I was where I left it. The mirror of the first Bactun, that is the first and last cycle, 7 Imix, AD 1618 to 1638, and 13 Ahau, AD 1992 to 2012, are characterized as galactic activation Bactuns. This means that there is an unbroken interval of 354 years, AD 1638 to 1992, of unrevealing moment towards a material transformation, resulting in the seemingly disastrous and dynamically chaos materialism of a global industrial civilization. And yet, it is precisely at the climax of matter, AD 1987 to 1992, fateful moment of materialism full ripness, that the highest and culmination purpose of the entire historical cycle reveals itself. In order to better grasp this self-engendered climatic moment, now engulfs the morphogenic field of scientific materialism and its manifestation as a global industrial civilization. Let us take cartoon by cartoon look at cycle 13, Bactun 12. In so doing, the coming paradigm will not only be more natural to accept, and the current of the more obvious in the passing. Both are functions not only of the same Bactun cycles, but of the overall process of synchronization, which characterized the entire 5,200 tons, 5,125 years passage of Earth through the advanced galactic acceleration process. As we shall see, the journey which we have undertaken lead to a far more vast and yet more immensely accessible dominion that all of our radio telescope can encompass. Here then begins the narrative of the 20 cartoons of Bactun 12. So it goes on and explains the different cartoons. So I think I'm going to skip all that. And I'm going to pick up here. Oh, actually, and that will be... Oh, okay. Well, by me skipping that, that will be the end. I just have to read a little bit on this page, and that will be the end of chapter 6. That was a pretty short chapter, but okay. Let's just roll with it. Once this critical transformation of matter was obtained on July 16, 1946, two basic processes were set in motion. One involved the materialist aggrandizement of power, represented by the entrenchment of the prevalent global industrial social order. The other involvement, the descendant quickening of the resonant field of the planet using in a wide spectrum of effects from UFO sightings and increased psychism to tectonic planes shifts and terrorism. The reason for the intense subject effects experienced by human psyche lies in overall impact of radioactivity and electromagnetic pollution on the infrastructure of the DNA, causing increased randomness of entropy of behavior. But this response of DNA experience as a social disrupted behavior in the human realm, inclusive of the rises in the incidence of cancer and new disease like AIDS, is actually only a complement of what is occurring in the larger host organism, Earth. The resonant body of Earth, the vibratory infrastructure that literally holds together the sense-perceptively body of Earth, it is a condition of intense fever called resonant dissonance. Remembering that the planet's functioning as gyroscope holding the frequency patterns of a particular orbit, we see that environmentally impactful events since 1945 have eventually set in motion a dissonant vibration wave affecting the overall spin of the planet. If the dissonance is not checked, then similar to uncontrolled nuclear reactions, the end result will be development of wobble in the spin of consequent shattering of a planetary form. The Earth could be broken up in smaller bodies, not unlike an asteroid belt. In order to accommodate the increased dissonance of frequencies, wave adjustments are set of a crystal core of the Earth until new harmonic resonance of slightly higher frequencies is attained, thus accompanying the dissonance and stabilizing a new level of resonance. If this new level of resonance can be attained before further destructive impacts and inflicted upon the planetary field, whether an increased carbon dioxide or further nuclear testing, then the planet will have successfully charted the 5,200-ton synchronization beam. As can be seen, the acceleration of DNA through this beam is played about a very last impossible moment before a critical synchronization occurs. This synchronization, taking place at the peak of maximum acceleration and dissonant entropy, requires the interforce of an infrastructure of DNA with the vibratory accommodation occurring through the self-organization and self-healing process of the Earth as a whole field. To talk about the interference of the infrastructures of DNA with the vibratory accommodations of Earth, it is to revoke the purified spiritual intentions of a synchronization collective of a human being who understands that their responsibility to this planet is taking precedence over all allegiances and concern at this particular time. Such an invocations in this nature of a planetary mystery, a rite of passage that synergizes hitherto scarcely suspected force fields into radiant manifestation. This is what I meant by harmonic convergence, occurring at 1863022 and 1863023, August 16 through the 17, 1987. Through such an event, the Armageddon script is short-circuited, yet the possibility of a new heaven and new earth is fully present. It must be kept in mind that from the perspective of the Mayan factor, the acceleration of the activity climaxing in the 13th cycle, Bacton 12, is but a phase in the larger playing out of the galactic resonant field. The 64 codes word fields of DNA, the factor that is quickened and synchronized during passage through the 5,200-tune synchronization beam, is but the central parcel in a resonant plot of frequencies whose code form is 260 units. At this point is our disintegration into matter. Not only we lost sight of the total DNA field of which we are operants, but even more have we forgotten the larger matrix, the galactic harmonic module which complementary enfolds us. Oh my gosh, I don't know why the end has been kind of hard for me to read. To understand even better the cathartic movement that now engulfs our entire being upon this planet, let us turn to a consideration of a technology and transformation. For if it is the purpose of the Mayan factor to lead us to the path beyond technology, technology. It is also its purpose to transit us through the eye of the hurricane, the transformation of matter which technology has induced. To pass through the eye of hurricane is to engage the counter-spin transcending history, the return ride of the subuya, of the timelessness whose harmonic waves concentrically radiates from beginninglessness to endless. Oh my God. To endlessness. The single source, the always now of being. Holy shit, that was, I don't know why, this last page was super hard to read. Oh, great. And now you can hear my dogs bark. Hold on, I'll be back. Anyways, you guys, my neighbor has a chihuahua that likes to bark, and when it barks, my dogs bark too. So, fun. But anyways, that was the end of chapter 6. And we can actually start chapter 7 next week. So, yay, I'm excited. We cruise and fly through chapter 6. So I hope you guys like it, and we will start chapter 7 next week. I love you guys. In Lakesh. Mwah. Bye.